This is a 102.7 FM Toowoomba original podcast.
Welcome everybody to my podcast, Big Little Small Talk. I'm Megan O'Hara-Sullivan and I love to talk, but I also love to listen. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the episode. And we have with us the founder of a not-for-profit styling service here on Ruthven Street, Cindy Nicollet.
Hello, how are you, Megan?
I'm great.
Excellent.
Now, you got in touch with me because you are a little entrepreneur, aren't you?
I guess you could say that. Yes, I hadn't considered myself in that way, but I guess in many facets I am, yeah.
Oh, you definitely are. You had any suggestion that I had of meeting up with someone in Toowoomba, you'd already met up with them and then got another connection from them. So I'm sitting in a big warehouse in Ruthven Street and it's filled with women's clothing and shoes and handbags. What are we doing here?
Yeah, so our space, as you mentioned, is a not-for-profit. We're a styling service. So our main mission is really to support women doing it tough in our community, getting them into the space and providing complimentary styling sessions. What that entails is an hour with us in our space with a one-on-one stylist. And it's about curating outfits that make you feel confident and beautiful. So we're really not about sizes, we're not about trends. It's about what works for any woman from any walk of life and finding those pieces that just make them feel good and just shine and feel comfortable in their skin. So as I mentioned, we primarily aim to support women doing it tough, and that can be for a variety of different reasons or circumstances. And the way that we can do that is by women coming in and paying for their own styling experience. So similar to how we provide those services to women in our community is that they come in, they get an hour's styling session, and we curate outfits for them that kind of takes the guesswork out of what looks good for me, what suits my body, especially when we all go through life changes as women do. And we're constantly, maybe finding ourselves not being able to fit into things we used to wear or not really feeling like they reflect who we are as a person at our stage of life. So this space, I guess, is that opportunity to come in judgment-free and just have a play and kind of rediscover what feels good for you.
So Cindy, tell me how the connection, I'm just not quite sure on how it works, that I'm someone who's a bit sick of my look. I want to have some outside advice.
Yeah.
But how does that then connect to a woman of disadvantage? How does the two connect?
Sure. So every paid session then contributes for us to get somebody in free of charge. So we can then, through our community partnerships, so I'm working to connect with lots of different organisations who support women from various different backgrounds and circumstances, to let them know that we exist and then to refer through to us. We have a bit of a referral process so that then women can come in and do that. For me, it's really about women supporting women, obviously them supporting themselves by coming in and experiencing that styling experience, but knowing then their session is contributing to another person being able to also receive that same experience completely free of charge.
And so I'm getting styled, then am I buying the clothes or how does that work?
Yeah, so your clothing is actually part of the package. So it's $130 for an individual session. And as I mentioned earlier, it's an hour with a stylist one-on-one. We'll have a bit of a chat with you, see if there's anything in particular you want to get out of the session, or you're happy to just play because you're just wanting to discover some new styles, new looks or colors, whatever it might be. And then towards the end of that session, as we tried on lots of different outfits, you can take home up to 3 items as part of that. So it might be a full outfit. It might be some pieces that you can then go home and kind of inject into your wardrobe. But I think it's the knowledge of knowing that, as I said earlier, the guesswork's taken out of the experience and you're getting that real genuine sort of feedback from the stylist that you're working with in terms of what's working and what's kind of not.
Right. So I've done that and then I've paid my $130.
Yep.
I've got my 3 pieces.
Yeah.
Just on that then,
Yeah.
if I say, oh, I really like that lovely ball gown, but so I'm going to make that one of my pieces and then I'm going to make this lovely coat over here. Like, how do you make it so that people aren't just coming and saying, oh, I'll just have all the really expensive stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we try to put a variety of different items. We do have a mixture of new and gently loved fashion. So again, it will just depend on the individual in terms of what ends up in that change room. And in terms of keeping it an equal playing field, when we offer you those up to 3 items to take home, we try to mix it up. So it's not 3 dresses, for example, so that it might be a top and a pair of pants or a bag, or it might be a dress and a hat and a pair of shoes, just to mix it up so you've got things you can go home with and add into your wardrobe as well.
Mm. But is it generally people will get an outfit, so it's something kind of matching? No,
It
not
could
it
be a
can be
mixed
variety.
bag,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's just, I guess, meeting the woman where she's kind of, well, what she wants to get out of that session and that experience. So sometimes we are absolutely able to, and given that our stock is donated stock, it does vary a little bit in terms of what we have in the space, what we're able to offer. Someone might come in with a specific request or wanting something specific out of the session, and we'll try our best to obviously accommodate that. But I guess making it clear too, like, let's look a little bit outside of that scope just in case we don't have that, so that you can still get real value out of the experience, and then hopefully still walk away with some pieces that you can add to your wardrobe.
Mm. Would it be sort of I'm thinking, would it be, say, a woman who has got a new job in a little bit more, I don't know, like, officey type
Yeah.
situation. They say, "Look, I don't own any office gear. I don't
Yeah.
know what sort of thing I should be wearing."
Yeah.
Or say someone who wants to, they're the mother of the bride or something like
Yeah.
that. Do you mean?
Yeah, and so it could be lots of different reasons. It could be had someone recently who came in because they were having a photo shoot for some new headshots. And so they wanted to have some outfits that would kind of work in that space and reflect the different roles and the different hats that they wear in terms of work and other facets of their life. So definitely, look through the space to make sure I could try to meet that brief, but obviously let her know, look, let's look a little bit further outfield in case, we don't quite have that here. So it's really about just coming in with an open mind and just exploring and playing and seeing what we both kind of find
Mm.
as we spend that hour together.
And then, how is a disadvantaged woman then offered? I know you said it's through your partnerships,
Yeah.
but how is it one for one, like one styling session that you do? Then do you do someone with a need, or?
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately in the future, we're just starting. So, being not for profit, we're looking at funding streams, and the main funding stream at the moment is obviously through those paid styling sessions. So, I'm hoping that, we'll be able to then apply for grants and maybe receive donations or sponsorships through businesses. To enable us to be able to service more women doing it tough. Obviously, as a not for profit, we have to still pay bills and do all those sorts of things that any business does. But, aiming as much as we can to support women as much as we can, making sure that we've got that really clear referral process so that we can understand what people's needs are and how we can best support them when they do come into that space. It is really important.
I love the concept of it. I'm just thinking about, say, how does the woman who has been referred, I mean, obviously they're agreeing to come. Are they coming sort of for fun, or is there a certain shame or certain, that they're the person who's been referred? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess it's thinking around the people that are supporting them, how they've kind of broached that for them in terms of that discussion piece. So it might be for a specific need, like you were talking about earlier around employment. It may just be that, a woman has left a really difficult home situation and she's needing just some clothes to get her started. So I think for me, what was important too was that the space felt welcoming and didn't feel like there was a charity feel to it. That was really important, and a lot of feedback of women that have been through the space has been very much the case that they don't feel it has that charity feel to it, so it feels very accommodating. And even a few of the community partners I've spoken with have come in here and said, yeah, I could see how women would feel really comfortable coming into this space, not feeling like there's any, shame in coming into this space. I'll always encourage our community partners to maybe have somebody accompany the woman along that she's comfortable with, obviously, into the space, so that, because I can appreciate it could be very intimidating for a bunch of reasons. A lot of women find shopping really uncomfortable and an unpleasant experience, again, for a bunch of different reasons. And I guess if you're doing it tough, coming into a space like this might also be a little bit intimidating. So having someone that they feel safe with and trust to kind of ease them in as a bit of an icebreaker into the space, I think is really important. And then hopefully they'll realize, no, this is actually a really safe, warm, welcoming space. And, my support person or case manager can kind of go off and have a coffee for an hour, and we're gonna just kind of hang out and enjoy ourselves.
And it doesn't feel like a charity shop or an op shop. It feels like a salon, I guess, and it doesn't have that smell.
No.
So tell me about the people you've gone from when I first met you to
Yeah.
having the idea
Yeah.
to it being full of clothes. So where have they come from?
Yeah, so I've done some, sourcing of some stock, talking to, as when we connected and continuing that networking process. I had a lot of people ask the question, do you take donations of clothing? Initially, that wasn't where my headspace was at, but certainly taking on board that feedback or those questions, I thought, there's probably some benefit to doing that, so that it can be really about the experience of the styling and having something put together that is personal to the woman. And so certainly, we've definitely encouraged donations from the community. We've had some amazingly generous women that have donated pieces out of their wardrobes. Sorry, I mean, I've taken some pieces out of my own wardrobe that I have never worn or worn once, because I guess I figure through that experience of that personal styling and having outfits put together that are just for you, I want those pieces, and I hope those pieces that women are donating can appreciate that it might spark joy in somebody else and that they can create a new story in that piece. So whether it's about employment or whether it's about landing on their feet after going through something really tough, and whatever journey they have ahead of them, that they've got those pieces there that kind of give them that confidence boost to forge forward.
But you've got a lot of new stock too.
Yeah.
So all still in wrappers.
Yeah.
Where have they come from?
Yeah, so again, donations through businesses, and I'm wanting to, I guess, really forge some partnerships here in Toowoomba with fashion partners, because I believe in like businesses supporting one another as much as possible. Hopefully, I've got some things in mind around how we can do that so that we can get those businesses on board and really demonstrate how, businesses here in Toowoomba are really supporting women in our community. Again, any woman from any walk of life. So whether it's someone who's doing it tough or someone who's paying for their session.
How do you get on? I'm looking around at all these great
Yeah.
clothes, and you might show me one outfit and I think, yep, that's great. But then I say, but I can't decide I want that one as well. Are you selling that other stuff or not?
At this stage, no, but what, and I have had an instance of this, what I've sort of suggested, because the stock is donated to us, that if someone is happy or would like to have additional pieces, they can pay forward an additional styling service. So that obviously includes that outfit. And then again, that contributes to us being able then to have those women through our community partnerships come in and access the space free of charge, the service.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, I noticed too that you have a ramp, you have a disability changing room. Tell me about the
Yeah.
importance of that and how that has figured in the whole business plan.
Yeah. So my background is I worked as a psychologist for 15 years, and I worked a lot in the intellectual and developmental disability space. And so that was a big part of, I guess, my foundational career years working in that space. And I've always wanted to see fashion as a means that everyone can access and enjoy equally. And so when we were looking for a space for Kindher Threads, I really wanted an accessible space, and that proved a little bit challenging. So it might have been that it was accessible in terms of from the front door and in the physical space, but access to bathrooms was not there. So that really was a big important feature for me, being a registered charity, and the groups of individuals that we support are also women with disability. I guess I didn't just want to say that, I wanted to make sure our space was actually accessible to women who might use a wheelchair or have limited mobility. I wanted to create a change room that would also allow a woman to comfortably get dressed and undressed, or have somebody in there support them to get undressed and dressed with dignity. So we were able to design a change room, and I've had some feedback from a local woman here in Toowoomba who has a disability, and she said, this is just incredible that we have something like this in this space that can accommodate any woman coming in. So it might even be a woman who needs to use a hoist. There's definitely the space in there. It ends up being like a 2.4 by 2.4 change room. So plenty of room to maneuver around and move about comfortably.
Mm. And I think, walking the talk you said about having the toilet, and it's okay for people to be able to be in the change room, but if they can't go to the toilet. So,
Exactly.
it's all of those things.
Yeah.
I'll just remind the listeners that they're on 102.7 FM. We're on Big Little Small Talk, and we're talking to the founder of a styling service. Doesn't that sound great? It's Kindher Threads. Kindher Threads. Kindher Threads.
Yes.
I love it. Now, how have you got your stylists, or are you the only stylist, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I've definitely got a few volunteer women on board. So I've done a bit of a call out to see if there's any women out there who've either got a skill in styling, or just a woman who loves fashion and wants to give back. And I've had a lot of women approach me, which has been fabulous. So we had a bit of a training session here in the space around our big table in the main boutique area a couple of weeks ago. It was beautiful energy to see all the ladies together in the space, in line in terms of what we're doing here and kind of why we're doing it. So definitely keen, obviously, for any other women. I've got a couple more that have contacted me and are interested, and I'll be catching up with them in the next few weeks, which is really exciting. So to have a variety of women and have a pool of women that we can then get in. At this stage, I've just got myself as the main stylist, because I'm obviously here for the days that we're operational, and that kind of reflects in our bookings that we've just got the one change room open. But as I know people's availability, then I'll be able to open more change rooms, and that'll allow me to provide services to paid women as well as women in our community.
Would the stylists, I could imagine, they need to know really what the stock is,
Yeah.
because then they can go, look, I've got just the thing for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go over and they take something off the shelf that
Yeah.
you would probably never normally. That's the idea of it, isn't it? It's to shake up your style.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So they have to be familiar with the stock.
Absolutely.
Now, I remember watching some of those reality TV shows a while ago, and one of my favorites was where they restyled those women. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
And say, like, the woman always had, bleach blonde hair, too much
Yes.
makeup, too tight a pants, too long a nails, whatever.
Yeah.
And they really sort of styled her up nicely. How do you change your innate sort of what you really feel comfortable with? How do you think you do that?
Yeah. I mean, in an hour, it can be a bit of a challenge. But I guess for me, it's about getting women to see themselves in a different perspective. So getting them to look in the mirror and really highlighting those features of their bodies that maybe they've wanted to hide, or they felt uncomfortable about. So I guess dressing and showing them how they can still look amazing and show off their great assets, but maybe those parts that they're a little more conscious of, like how they can dress so that it's accentuating those parts that are real. They're beautiful features, which, all of us have those. So it might be about tucking something in to create a waistline, or, doing something a little bit different with accessories, or a print, or a neckline that might be a little bit different. So just playing with those kind of concepts. And that's also part of that styling experience. It's not just the clothes, but how you can kind of wear them a little bit differently, just to give yourself, again, getting women to step out of the comfort zone, try something on that they've maybe never tried on before. They might have had their mum say, you don't look good in that color, or that style doesn't look great for you. And they've kind of carried that through the years. Go, well, you know what? Let's challenge that today. Let's put you in that color, or let's put you in that style. And I want you to have a look in the mirror and actually see yourself differently. So sometimes just that little piece can be enough for someone to go, oh, you know what? Maybe my mum wasn't right. Actually, that color does work for me.
Yeah. Look, as you're saying it, I'm thinking no, I never wear baggy clothes. I would never wear, and I, wouldn't wear this. I wouldn't wear that.
Mm.
And I know that we're in this kind of rut of, for me anyway, it's mumsy clothes. I feel like I've just all the ladies my age are just wearing the same clothes because we're all mumsy and, something. So, and the refrain, I look in my wardrobe and I've got nothing to wear.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That we all do, don't we? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I guess that's where we can come in terms of hopefully then getting outfits or coming in for a styling session here, we can find you some pieces that you might go, oh, because you've got that connection with it. You see that item and it sparks that memory of, I felt really great when I tried that on, had that sparkle, or my smile got a little bit bigger on my shoulders. You know, I sort of stood taller when I put that on. So hopefully that kind of then triggers you to go, I've got those items in my wardrobe where I can look at it and I go, today's the day I need to feel extra confident because I've got something happening. I know that's my hero piece or that's my hero outfit that's going to really give me that boost. And it shows when you go into those situations, if you feel comfortable in what you're wearing and you feel good in what you're wearing, it's outwardly projected. People see it, people notice it.
Mm. Oh, look, I totally understand. I've got lots of pieces that I've bought from op shops where I've been with my sisters, and you buy stuff by the weight, particularly overseas. I will never wear that suede skirt with the tassels on it. Well, I can't take that tassely skirt off now. I just,
That's it.
and it's being shown something different. But tell me about the other reason you do it is about landfill.
Yes, absolutely. So big sustainability part as well. We know that fashion, and we've been hearing so much about it in the news and other platforms about the impact of fashion on the environment. I mean, I think it was only a few months ago, France has now brought in some taxes and some laws around banning the advertisements of fast fashion. And there's lots of talk about those sorts of things maybe coming into effect in Australia at some point. I'm conscious of how much fashion does impact the environment. I myself too am a pretty keen op shopper for that reason, because I don't want to contribute to what's already out there. And I think it's something like the clothes that already exist out there, so not even the new stuff that's being manufactured, could clothe 6 more generations of people in the world. Like, that's just insane. And that was another reason I wanted to include the gently loved stuff too, because I'm like, I've already got so many clothes. Yes, the new stock is great and it's helping to prevent that stuff from ending up in landfill. So, at the end of the season, that surplus can sometimes make its way into landfill, other sort of dumping or getting rid of. But I also was thinking about, well, the stuff that's already out there, which we've all got in our wardrobes, there's got to be a way we could use that too in a really different way that's not just going into an op shop, but that's the added part of what we do, is that we can take those pieces and put them together and combine them into outfits. So knowing that whatever you're taking home with you, you're helping to contribute to it not ending up in landfill and, as I said, creating those memories and that sort of stuff with it.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I took a while to get my head around why we wanted to recycle things. It's not only that we want to keep it out of the land because of, the toxic chemicals and the microplastics and the methane and all of that come out, that leach out of textiles, but that's taking up more space. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just quickly with the group bookings, how does that work? I can imagine that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So the intention of the group bookings is, for a bunch of girls to get together and enjoy a different experience. So, there might be groups of women who catch up regularly and it might be the usual dinner drinks kind of situation. So giving them another alternative. So the group sessions are 2-hour sessions and we look at between 5 to 8 women for a group. The price point for that is a little higher than the individual session. And the reason being too is because we do put on some nibbles and some drinks as well. Being a 2-hour session, what we'll aim to do to ensure that we give everyone that one-on-one experience and the place isn't too hectic and busy is we kind of split the group down the middle. So let's say we had 8 ladies, we'd have 4 ladies go up first so that we have 4 stylists, one for one. We would do the similar experience as we would with the individual session. It also includes their outfit. Then we swap in the middle and the next 4 ladies would go in, same situation. And then, have
So the ones who've been sitting doing the nibbles and the drinks to start with, they're a bit more raucous by the time they're getting styled,
They
aren't
could be. It could be. But yeah, it's a great alternative, I guess, to some of those more traditional ways of us catching up with our girlfriends. And I guess knowing that we're obviously those group sessions are also contributing towards supporting our community women and obviously the sustainability piece too. So those outfits are obviously all outfits that otherwise could have ended up in landfills.
So Cindy, I'm just thinking, like when I first came in, I sort of walked up and down the aisles a little bit, and you naturally go to the things. Do you let the women do that?
No, we try to discourage it because it is a styling experience rather than retail. And I know that it can be really tempting, kind of like kid in a candy store experience. And a lot of us ladies love walking into a shop and just want to touch and see everything. We try to discourage it because the propensity can also be towards gravitating towards the thing that we've already got a number of versions, whether it's a color or a print or a pattern or whatever. So there's less likelihood of that because we don't know, as the stylist, we don't know what's in your wardrobe normally. And what you're wearing might not be what you always wear. You might have thought, oh, I'm coming for a styling session today. I better pull out that thing I never normally wear because, I want to look like I should be here, that kind of thing. So we don't rely on necessarily all the time what you're wearing or what you're kind of saying is in your wardrobe. So that way, if I get you to sit down, I'll be doing the choosing for you, which I know again can be a little bit scary, but I guess it's about getting you a little bit out of your comfort zone in a really safe space. So myself and I stress that with our stylists, be honest, because this isn't retail. We're not here to sell you something. We're not going to tell you something looks great if it clearly doesn't, or we can clearly see that you're not comfortable in it. We don't want you to go home with that because you'll never wear it. That's what we're trying to avoid rather than what is the usual experience when we do go shopping. So yeah, we try to discourage it. But having said that, if there's something that you see as you're sitting at the table in the boutique waiting for your change room to be filled, and you're like, oh, I'm kind of curious about that, let us know. Say, hey, I kind of got my eye on that green dress there. Can I maybe give that a try? Happy to accommodate that. I'm also mindful too that especially in a group situation, if I've got a whole bunch of ladies plus our stylists trying to look for outfits, it gets a little bit hectic. So it makes it easier for us as the stylists for us to be kind of doing the rummaging and sourcing the outfits for the session.
I love it. So what if I say, okay, well, look, that sounds great. That sounds like really good fun. I don't really particularly want to be styled, but I think my daughter would probably really enjoy that. Can you buy a session for someone else? Can you buy a gift card or something?
Yeah, absolutely. So I haven't got it up yet, but gift cards will be something I'll be looking into kind of coming up closer to Christmas. Great little gift option, knowing that that gift not only benefits the recipient, that it benefits supporting other women in the community. Gift cards will definitely be an offering that'll be on our website. You can book and pay for a session on the website for an individual if it's not for yourself. That's another way to do that as well. Yeah.
I really like how you keep the focus on this is great, it's fun, it's for women, one style, but there's another purpose, and the other purpose is for a woman of disadvantage in the community.
Yeah.
And that's kind of almost like it's the reason that you exist, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's really important for women to support women as much as we can, however we can. So I guess that's my way of doing that, and then hopefully building that community within the women of Toowoomba and further afield to be able to do that. It was like little postcards. Another thought that I had was that the women who are coming in paying for a session, if they wanted to, I've got these little cards on the table, if they wanted to write a quote that they've carried with them that's helped them through tough times, or a couple of words of encouragement, I'd encourage that if they're comfortable to do that. And then when we're having a woman from the community come in, I can pop one of these cards in their bag. And it might just be something that when they need a little bit of a reminder, they might have that accessible to them that they can kind of go back to and remind themselves of whatever that message might be on that card.
It's beautiful. Now, we're on Big Little Small Talk. I'm Megan O'Hara-Sullivan, and we're speaking to Cindy Nicollet. You always stumble over your name, Miss Led. I don't know why.
That's all right.
Who is the founder of a not-for-profit service called Kindher Threads, and it's a styling service that gives back to people in the community. Now, you said before, I'm really interested about this, Cindy, because you said that, and I know that you're a psychologist and you've worked in the disability field, Are part of the sessions here part psychology, part counselling session, part how much of that does
Yeah,
play into that, do you think?
I look, having worked in the space for 15 years, I've not been a registered psych for 3. So obviously I've trained, but no longer practicing as a psychologist. It's hard to separate from that, I suppose. And I think there's a big part of trying to understand how a woman's feeling, in her confidence levels and how she feels about her body and her self perceptions. So sometimes it can be just about talking her through, those challenges she might be having when she looks at herself in the mirror. A lot of women, as we know, do experience issues with body image, and that can have a huge impact on so many facets of life, but also self esteem and self worth and confidence. And again, that I think is another reason why I wanted to marry my skill set, having worked in that psychology space for so long with fashion. I've always loved fashion. I mean, my husband would say obsessed, but it's always seen as a bit of a negative. It is a bit fluffy, and I don't know why people are so interested in it. It's really not a big deal. But it can have a lot of impact on people in terms of how they see themselves, how others see them. And so I guess that was a big motivator too for wanting to start Kindher Threads, was how can I use fashion as a vehicle for positivity for women? So getting them, and again, we've only got that hour, so I'm not expecting enormous life transformations. But even if a woman walks away from a session here and just looks at herself differently in the mirror rather than judging and being so self-critical, she might just go, "Oh, you know what? I'm actually really beautiful. I actually do look good in this dress," or whatever it might be. That's a huge step forward in hopefully, building that resilience and that perception themselves as not the way they perceive themselves.
I think it's cheaper than a counselling session. With an outfit as well.
Precisely.
So with your work in psychology, I know that you worked with a lot of people with, intellectual disabilities and challenging behaviours, which
Yeah.
might be the ladies after they've had a few too many champagnes, the challenging behaviours. You've touched on it there about body image. Did you have much to do, say, with teenagers and eating disorders or anything like
No,
that?
I didn't really work in that space. For me, what resonated is when I would write behavior support plans, for example, for challenging behavior, I'd go into people's homes and I'd see how some of the women were dressed and talk to the staff. And it was very much dressing for convenience sake. So we've got this budget. So we just buy the same tracksuit pants in a bunch of different sizes, and that's what everyone's going to wear. And for me, I guess my thing around fashion has always been that it should be a reflection of your personality. And it's a real way of kind of communicating or signposting to other people the kind of person that you are and the things that you might value or might be important in your life. And I just thought, here are people that are already not seen in the community, or people don't want to see them in the community. And then they're dressed in a way that kind of makes them seen differently in the community. Wouldn't it be lovely if we could actually make these like give them the opportunities to dress in a way that reflects who they are? They might not like green, but no one's asked them that. They might have been okay with those pants, but why couldn't we get blue ones instead of green ones, or whatever it might be? So that was something that I think was really important. And I noticed that again, it's coming back to how then other people perceive you, and then how that helps or might hinder you in how you see yourself in the world.
Love it. So you mentioned that you and your husband have moved up here from Brisbane. What prompted that move?
We could buy a house. That was a big motivator.
Driving the house prices up here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know. We did say that. And we're like, oh,
Oh, I don't think you can feel guilty about that. Yeah.
Um, yeah, just I guess something different. Definitely, the being able to afford a house was a big factor. But certainly since we've moved here, like we've been here a year now, it's gone so quickly. We were reflecting on that recently, and we both kind of went, "Are you happy with this? Are you happy?" Yeah, I'm pretty happy. And I think on the journey of building this business, I've just been blown away by the generosity of the community. We've had some people come forward that have offered their services completely free of charge to us so that we can operate, which has just been exceptional, and still have a lot of people coming on board with generosity to help us function and do what we need to do day to day. Obviously, the volunteers has been incredible. As you were saying earlier, people giving their time to hear my story and then offering their suggestions, or, I'd love to put you in contact with this person or that person. I think if I'd have wanted to do something like this in a different town or a bigger city, I might not have had that same reception or found it not as easy, but it's not quite the right word, but as accommodating as I have. So like this morning, I got to do a news story with the Chronicle, so that they were again really happy to hear us piece.
They are forever chasing my stories, I tell you.
So it's been incredible, and just the accessibility of people and the real enthusiasm and encouragement that everyone's given me along the way, even when we were going through fit out. And I had those moments of, why are we doing this again? Meeting those people that kind of reminded me, oh, yeah, that's why we're doing this.
What is your love for fashion? Where did that stem from?
Look, it's
Can you remember your earliest time that you're just really conscious of,
So
love looking good?
I don't. This is probably pre-memories, but my mum tells this great story of, she dressed me for a while and then realized one morning that that was it. She couldn't dress me anymore because she'd put me in an outfit and I disappeared. I think I must have been about 2. I disappeared, and she went to find me, and I was in the wardrobe pulling everything off that I had on, and I was looking through the wardrobe to find something to put on. And that's when mum kind of went, okay, I can't dress my daughter anymore. She obviously needs to dress herself. And so that's kind of the point where, so I guess that must be the early point of when I was really interested in fashion. And there's another great story where mum wanted to take this photo. So we moved, when my parents emigrated from overseas, we lived in Wollongong for about 18 months and then moved to the Sunshine Coast. And they were renting a unit at the time. And mum was like, oh, there was this great light in front of the unit block. And I was like, okay, I want to take a photo. And so you went off to get dressed. 2 hours later, you emerged in an outfit. The light was no longer that great, but you was determined that you had to take I had to take the photo. So I still took the photo, even though the light wasn't great, but because you were so proud of what you were wearing, you wanted it to be captured. And I was probably 3, 4, maybe 3.
Did you ever think that was there ever a thought that you'd go and study fashion, or
No,
you had to do something sensible?
yeah, it's funny. Like, I always loved it, but I always kind of thought of it as something you did to, help you through uni, to pay your way through uni, or something like that. And instead, I ended up in hospitality. So obviously, that customer facing experience is something that I value and I enjoy, but it wasn't retail. And so yeah, I kind of went down the trajectory of going to uni and studying, obviously to become a psychologist, and then working in that space for the time that I did, almost 15 years, I think. And yeah, just doing that fashion piece. And then I'd met my husband and I decided to step away from psychology and figure out what I was going to do when I grew up. And my husband kept saying, you should do something in fashion. You should do something in fashion. But again, I still just didn't see it as that career pathway. And it was only when I think I had the space and I had the space to think about something outside of psychology and that world that it started, I don't know, sort of coming together in some way.
Did you get the PhD in the end?
No, I started one. I didn't quite finish it. I like to say I did 80% of PhD.
Oh, no.
I couldn't write the thesis.
Oh, it's 80%. It's a lot, and that's a lot of time and a lot of
Yes,
thinking.
it was. I don't regret it. There are times when I go, oh, maybe I should go back and, do the thesis and finish that off. But then I go, no, you wouldn't be happy. So what I did, I'm happy I did it. And I think I gained a lot from that experience. But yeah, no regrets that I didn't get the funny cap and the certificate and the
The upgrade down to first class.
That's it.
What about, explain to me, when I ask you, can you speak French? You can say you've got limited working French. What does that mean?
Limited working for. It's not bad. In terms of, it's all there in my brain because I grew up with it. So both my parents spoke French when I was a child because both my parents speak French.
Where did they immigrate from?
So they immigrated from south of France. So not early, I think it was 1980, they moved to Australia, both of them French speaking. So my mum was born in Spain, grew up in France. My dad is French Italian. So his mum was Italian, his father was French.
Good God, Cindy, you've just turned the key. That's where the fashion and the
Yes.
style comes from. It's not the
Exactly.
spark.
It
It's
must
in your
be.
genes.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so they spoke French around me as a child, and never that sort of, this word means this. It was just conversational. And obviously, being little, I must have just through osmosis absorbed it all up. I used to get a bit of flack, especially from my father, about how I pronounce words and things like that. So, as a kid, I was never a big conversationalist in terms of French. But then there was an instance back in my 30s. We were overseas visiting family, and we'd gone to Morocco, which was French. It used to be occupied by the French, owned by the French, and they all spoke French. And it was at that point that I went to my mum, thank you so much for pushing me to speak French, because it just gave me another experience in that country that had I not been able to speak French or understand French as well. So I find that when I don't speak it, I'm not around it, the cogs are rusty. Once I'm back in the space, I'm hearing it, I'm speaking it, it all kind of clicks into place.
What motivated your parents to move to Australia?
They just wanted something different, I think, and something different for their child. I mean, I was born here in Australia, so they didn't have me before they moved. My dad used to do, if anyone out there knows about it, ham radio. So he used to be able to connect to people all around the world through radio. My dad got talking to a guy who was, I think, Yugoslavian originally, but had moved to Wollongong in New South Wales. And he got talking to dad. Dad got talking to him. We're talking about, being married and children. And the guy was like, you should think about moving to Australia. It's the other end of the world. And so obviously he must have taken that idea back to my mum, and mum was like, oh, and told my grandmother, so my maternal grandmother, who promptly went to the library to find the only book she could find on Australia, and came back horrified at the images that were in there of, deserts and kangaroos. And they're like, what? You're going to go there and you're going to raise my grandchild there? What are you? You're insane. But obviously they did it. So yeah, 18 months in Wollongong, and this beautiful couple like hosted, I guess, would have sponsored my parents to come out.
Did they find happiness? They settled?
They came up to the Sunshine Coast for a holiday, I think, and then fell in love with the Sunshine Coast and decided to move from Wollongong to the Sunshine Coast. And that's where I grew up. So born in Wollongong, but grew up on the Sunshine Coast.
So just going back to their sense of style,
Yeah.
do you think that they had that European sense of style?
Probably. I think mum, like looking at photos of mum when she was younger, she, had a really good sense for fashion. And I remember her saying, like, I had this friend in primary school that, because we weren't wealthy, we struggled. My parents struggled at times financially. And we had this girl that I was sort of friends with or knew in primary school, and they were quite wealthy. And I remember my mum saying, I remember seeing her, it was a comment mum had made or something of like, money doesn't always buy style.
I paid a lot of money to look this trashy. That's Dolly Parton's quote.
Yeah. And so that always kind of stuck with me. And I remember even with the limited funds, like mum always managed to dress really well and look really good. She just had a way of putting things together and looking good. When she was growing up, it was just her and her mother, and they didn't have a lot of money. So mum made a lot of clothes for her. But yeah, she always looked really beautiful and dressed really well and was on trend, I suppose, in terms of what was fashionable at the time when she was growing up in her teens and her 20s with very little money. So that's something I've always taken for. And I think that's why op shopping's been always a thing for me, because I love the thrill of the chase, because you can walk into an op shop, you have no clue what you're going to find, and you were an op shopper as well. You might walk out with an absolute like gem, or you walk out going, yeah, there was nothing. It was all pretty dud. And you can go to that store 1 week and then go a month later and it's just a gold mine. But I think it's then about being able to put pieces together. And you do have to be a little bit more creative because it's not sort of just prescribed on a rack that that top should go with that bottom, or, this dress should go with that bag or those pair of shoes. So you do have to be a little bit more creative. And I think that's something that's in this space as well. We don't have access to endless amounts of variety or sizes. So in terms of styling, you do have to be a little bit more creative with what's here in terms of putting things together.
Well, that has gone the full circle. I love it. And I don't think, I'm not a psychologist, but I think we can see where the genesis of your love for style has come from.
You could be onto it.
Six, love it. I want to come down here and get styled. I do. I couldn't think of anything more luxurious. It'd be like just going and having a hairdo or something. It's just wonderful. Now, I've run out of time, but can you tell me, do you have a favourite royal?
I got these questions you sent me and I was like, what is it? And then I went, is this cliche? But I would say Princess Grace of Monaco.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful woman, amazing style. I guess, a little bit of a connection to my French roots. I mean, Monaco is its own principality, but still within proximity to France. So definitely knew of her and her style growing up as a kid. So yeah, that would be my pick from a style.
I love
point of view.
Princess Grace. Yes, for sure. And just the other day, I was down the rabbit hole of looking at her wedding cake. She had this enormous sort of 2-meter wedding cake and this tiny little waist. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the covered buttons on her wedding dress. Yes, I'm with you with that. That's a beautiful, perfect answer from you. What about the song that can't keep you off the dance floor?
Gosh, I was thinking about that one. I don't dance a lot, like go out dancing much, which is really sad because as a kid I loved dancing. There'd be a few. I'm not allowed to have a few though, am I?
You can have a few.
Oh, I'm allowed to have a few. Okay. Look, I think, it's not a cliche, but, Love Shack by the B-52s is pretty great. I probably would have had to have a few drinks to get there. I'm just trying to think of another one.
Well, let me ask you another.
Yes,
What's
okay.
your favourite karaoke song?
Oh gosh, now that's a good one. Again, I don't do a lot of karaoke. Didn't even do it when we were in Japan. That's a bit sad, isn't it?
It's the home of the karaoke.
I know. We should have done it. The other, going back to the dance floor one, would probably be like Murder on the Dance Floor, Sophie Ellis-Bextor. Probably another one. But yeah, I think that would be
Two.
That would be my two.
Okay.
No more. She's cut me off.
Cindy, it's just been a delight to talk to you and your organisation here, Kindher Threads. Tell the listeners where you are again.
Yeah, so 416 Ruthven Street. So same side as Bone Idol Bar and just next to the Heritage Bank headquarters, big building on Ruthven Street.
And spell the name of your organisation again. It's
Kind, play on words. So instead of kinder, it's Kindher. So HER at the end of kind, threads. So like
KINDHER.
Correct.
Okay, wonderful. Yes. Well, I admire you. I think you've done a wonderful job, and it's just so lovely hearing about what you're doing and trying to make an impact.
To all the listeners.
Yeah, well, you'll see them down here. They might get a tiny discount if they mention that they heard you on the podcast.
We'll see what happens.
That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me on Big Little Small Talk. I hope you can make the time to join me next week. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favourite podcast app.
You've been listening to a 102.7 FM Toowoomba original podcast. For more podcasts or to listen to live and local Toowoomba radio, please visit 1027.com.au or download the Community Radio Plus app.